Welcome to the Show Up Way Show. I'm so happy that you are giving me a chunk of your evening. Yes, it is a little bit past 5 p.m. on the East Coast. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Larry, this is earlier than usual. You did this to me last week too. I did. You're right. But sometimes I have to go early. Why? Because I have special guests. That's why. And sometimes I got to make changes. So don't be mad at me. Instead, do the opposite. Do the right thing. You know it's going to be a good show. You know it's always a good show. So instead, hit that like button now. Don't look at me. Click a like button. If you're listening right now and you're not actually watching, then don't forget later on when you go back on your phone and computer, click that like button. It does matter. It's how I get past all the algorithms by actually doing that. So please do that if you would. But today, I am very lucky. I have with me a very special guest, someone who doesn't only talk the talk, but also walks the walk. Not many of them. Someone who is actually the creator of the Outright Bar and also the chief marketing officer of Tiger Fitness and also an IFBB pro bodybuilder, the man himself, Marc Lobliner. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm so excited to be on here, man. What a beautiful day.
It is awesome,
beautiful,
except
beautiful day.
In New York City, it's raining, but still good. It's still fine. Yes, it's still fine. Yes.
It's a brisk, sunny day in Nashville, Tennessee. So I will say a prayer for your weather over there in New York. And also there's a lot of prayers needed in New York. So I'll keep praying. I'll just pray for you for everything. I got you.
That's a good idea. We could use every one of them. I got to tell you, I have considered making the move down to Tennessee, but not Nashville. I've considered Chattanooga.
Chattanooga is gorgeous. My daughter's actually looking at University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. I love Chattanooga. The vibe there, downtown, it's got the river. It's just an amazing place. I like Chattanooga. I like Knoxville. I like Nashville. I could do without Memphis, but the suburbs like Germantown, gorgeous, gorgeous. Tennessee is God's country, bro. God's country.
I have considered making that shift. And by the way, guys, if you want to figure out who Marc is and what he's doing, follow him on Twitter at Marc Lobliner, and that's Marc. If you're listening, it's Marc M-A-R-C, not K. If you are listening, M-A-R-C L-O-B-E.
No, there's no E. L-O-B-L-I-N-E-R. You almost got it.
Oh, is that right?
It's fine. Close enough. They got it now.
No, I messed it up. I'm gonna change it right now. I'm sorry. I messed it. People listening, don't do what I said.
On the fly.
I'm sorry. L-O-B-L-I-N-E-R. That's right. I was testing Marc to see if he would figure it out, and he passed the test. Well done, Marc. I like that. Well done.
I try my best.
But something about that I want to bring up here is you don't consider yourself very political, but you consider yourself a freedom guy, right?
Yes.
A big freedom guy. That's your number one issue, whether you're going left or right or whatever. You consider yourself a freedom guy, which I love. And why would I say that? Because too many people who are liberty-minded or libertarians, however they might see themselves, they focus heavily on everybody else doing stuff. Like the government should, people should, everyone should. You actually focus on, okay, no, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. What am I doing? What is the individual doing, and how are they setting the example or doing the right thing? And I love that because in my own world, I'm obviously not a bodybuilder, but in my own world, I run for office in a way that I want others to emulate, right? I'm trying to get people to emulate me by being the change. So I think you do a similar thing. Am I wrong here?
Well, I mean, I got kids, and I don't want my kids to have a father that doesn't live by the sword. A lot of parents say one thing, oh, don't drink. Drinking's bad for you. Yet every time they go to a soccer tournament, they're getting smashed after little Timmy's game. Right. And that happens very frequently. Look, I'm not against people enjoy adult beverage, but I quit drinking. I never really was a drinker, but I stopped having any alcohol in front of my kids because I've seen what alcohol could do to people. I'm not here to judge anybody, but that's the way I choose to live my life.
Yes.
My kids are all very athletic, into fitness. Why? Because every day they saw us get up, exercise, pay attention to what we're eating. They saw me get up, go to work hard, start businesses, sell businesses, basically becoming, self-made multimillionaires in the process. So they know what it takes.
Yep.
So how can we go about and tell people to do certain things, to live a certain way, when we're not doing it ourselves? And we saw this during 2020. Everybody was complaining, but nobody was doing anything.
Yes.
And that's when I decided I'm done sitting on the sideline. And my good friend Mike Cernovic told me, he said, you need to sit, because I used to vent to him. It's like, why don't you say this stuff on Twitter? I'm like, dude, I don't want to get political. It's going to hurt my business. He's like, if you don't get political, who will?
Yep.
And so, I think that we've done a good job influencing people.
You hold on. You brought up two important things I'm gonna bring up. One of them is, when people, my day job when I'm not doing political stuff is I'm a consultant. That's what I do for a living, right? And sometimes I deal with parental issues or business issues or whatever the case may be. And I will often tell parents, remember something: kids don't do what we say; they do what we do. Mm-hmm. And I think you've hit it on the nose. You've given them the right example for them to follow. But it's the second piece you brought up. Not that I'm against people drinking. I personally also don't drink, but I don't care if you want to drink. It's up to you. But I think your point's more valid, which is, how can I say don't drink and then drink?
Yes.
If I'm going to drink, I shouldn't be preaching to you about alcohol. I should keep my mouth shut about alcohol because I'm drinking. If I smoke, I shouldn't be telling you don't smoke because I'm smoking, right? Whatever I'm doing, I should be open about it and just maybe not talk about that part.
Absolutely. And I think that's the way I choose to raise my family. That's the way I choose to raise my kids. Like every morning before school, my daughter's a 16-year-old junior in high school. We train together. So, my training partner is my 16-year-old daughter. Both my other kids, my 9-year-old plays football and soccer and wrestling. And my 14-year-old wrestles and plays soccer. So for us, sport activity is a part of our life. And that's because, sport and being active and being fit and not being fat will make your life better. It'll make you live longer. It'll make your brain work better. There's so many things, but it all starts with taking care of your insides and your outsides. And that all comes to here. I mean, I just did a video on my YouTube channel about this, about bodybuilding actually, or strength training. I'm sorry to use the word bodybuilding, actually makes you smarter. Exercise in general is the only thing that really starts producing new neurons in your brain. You're not building just new muscle. You're building new brain cells every time you're physically active. And so why wouldn't you start your day with something that puts not only your body, but your mind in the right place to be optimal and to perform and to conquer?
Well, you brought up another valid point, which I try to bring up, right? Sometimes there are many people who would love to either be healthier or change a bad habit or whatever the case may be, but it seems too daunting to them, right? They look at it and go, yeah, Mark could do it because, here's my excuse on why Mark can do it and I can't, or whatever, right? They often do that. And what I'll often tell people is, you don't have to be what you, in your own mind, whatever that is, perfect tomorrow. You've got to start some form of change. Having a small victory will then give you a larger victory. So I remember myself, my own issue. I bring this up often. I've been on the keto lifestyle for about 12 years now. But I didn't go on it for a good reason. Like I wasn't going, I think I want to be healthier. That wasn't why I did it. I did it because I wanted to change other things.
Yeah.
And when I mean the story I often tell, and I don't know if you've heard it before, but in 2010, it was my worst year ever. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. My daughter was in a hospital. I thought she was going to die. She had to have heart surgery. My business had collapsed finally from 2008. I'd hold on for so long, it collapsed. And I felt like I had no control. I was stress eating, putting on weight. And I thought, you know what? Let me control something. So I decided to control my weight, just my diet, not my weight, my diet. And controlling my diet. And I was fanatical keto when I first started. Like I was eating like steak, eggs, and coffee. I was fanatic, right? That was it. And I ate like that. And I dropped a lot of weight. I mean, unhealthily. I probably dropped 40 pounds in 2 months. But that victory got me to the next step. And now once I started that, other things started happening. So I get your point. It does affect your brain. It affects your mindset. It allows you to achieve other things. I was able to fix my relationship with my wife. I was able to, I've been together now 22 years. Yeah. I've been able to fix my business. I was able to kind of regroup. So I definitely see your point. How do you get someone? I mean, you do some coaching, right?
I do.
How
I
do
do
you get
coaching.
someone to make that step when they look at you going, Mark, I'm not you, man. I can't be you. How do you get them to make that step?
You don't. They have to have their why. If somebody comes to you
Okay.
asking, "Oh, how do I get motivated?" Well, I mean, being fat and dying, that if that doesn't motivate you not to be fat, I mean, look, during COVID, when COVID hit in New York, and you know this, you're in New York, 78% of the hospitalizations in the first, I think it was 3 months of COVID, were obese people. We knew right then and there who it was targeting. And why was it targeting obese people? Did the Chinese say, hey, let's kill all the fat Americans? No. The reason obese people got it is because obese people are sick and unhealthy. Inherently so. There's no such thing as a healthy fat person. I'm sorry, there just isn't. Cosmopolitan with their little covers and the big woman, like, this is the new healthy. That's not the new healthy. Okay, she can be healthier than another fat person because she's active, but in and of itself, they posted this the other day, someone on Twitter, I forgot who it was, posted this scan of a body. And it was a fat person and a skinny person or a lean person. And the fat person's organs were just compressed. Their bones were just contorted because it's this external pressure coming on your body. And every bit of fat you have on your body, your heart has to pump. Your heart has to work. So not only are you putting yourself in that disastrous position by having all that weight, being fat is also pro-inflammatory, and systemic inflammation is a killer. I always say systemic inflammation is
what you're saying right now. I think a lot of people know, right? I don't think, well, maybe not details. You know, you give them details people don't know. What I'm asking though is, and this is what I will often do, is wouldn't you want to give them an outside why? Because internally, if I already feel like I can't do this, it's impossible. If I feel that already, telling me, well, you have to because you're going to die. Most people go, then I guess I'll die. That's what most people do.
Yeah.
Don't you want to give them an outside why? Like you said, I got kids, right? Yeah. Somebody might go, they're kids, or they might care about their parent. Because here's the next piece I want to bring up here. The piece that gets me more than anybody, what you're talking about is, if I want to help others, how can I if I'm sick? If I want to build my community, how can I if I'm not financially strong, mentally strong, physically strong? I can't build my community. If I want government to get out of my life, which I do, which means I have to now have a community that will support people who are in trouble. So I feel like that becomes a motivation to be better or smarter or faster or stronger or whatever is the thing I care about.
Yeah, I know it's not a popular person to talk about on the right now, but look at LeBron James. The guy literally created a school. He created a school. You know, so would LeBron James be able to create a school if he didn't become a multi-bazillionaire? No. So you can't really help people if you need help yourself. I think I think Coolio said it best. You can't help me if you can't help yourself. Okay, to quote the great Coolio, God rest his soul. So,
yes, that's right. He passed away recently. You're right. Yep.
So I look at it that way. You know, I've been very fortunate to have become successful through hard work and determination and doing the right things and making, for most part, the right choices. Being with my wife for 25 years, I got you beat by 3.
Got me beat by 3. Damn you.
It's the monogamy Olympics. So I think that now I could donate my time to giving back to kids. I could donate my time to coaching for free. I could donate my time to doing what I can to help the community. And you know, we've done so many fundraisers. We did a boxing charity event in Murfreesboro, Tennessee a year ago. That was enormous. We had every pro bodybuilder here. I boxed myself. I was a boxer for five or so years. And it was a phenomenal time. We raised tens of thousands of dollars. Could I have done that if I wasn't a millionaire? No. If I didn't have the big influence on social media, could I have done that? No. So that's the thing, is you have to have your own personal success in order to be able to help others.
What you're saying, like I've run for office twice. And when I run for office as a third party, right, I literally don't work. So I have to be able to create enough cash to where I can. And for those who don't know, I live in New York City. I have a wife who doesn't work, and I have 2 kids. So I've got to be able to create enough. You can imagine my bills. Yes. So I've got to be able to make enough cash to where I can survive for a year without working. Yeah. That's not easy to do, but you're right. If I had to work every day, I couldn't run for office. I couldn't run a real campaign. it'd be impossible. I'd have to work every day. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely. I see it even in my side. But I want to go further, though, because you took at least a possible, maybe you didn't know this or not, but for surely a possible financial hit.
Huge.
When you had your outright bar. For those who don't know, Marc is the creator of the outright bar.
Yes.
And by the way, you
Really
can click and you can see it on his Twitter if you want.
It's at old GNC. If you're looking for an easy spot to get a GNC, Hy-Vee, HEB, a lot of outlets.
There we go. So you can check it out there if you want to. But a couple years ago, you were about to do a big deal with Kroger.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, Kroger is a massive, huge. Is it the biggest? Is that right?
The biggest.
It's the
they
biggest
own Ralph's.
chain.
They own Ralph's in California. They have Mariano's in I think it's Mariano's in Illinois. They own a ton of stores. It's the gateway to a lot of doors, multi-millions of dollars.
There we go. And you had a deal already like penned, like ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah.
And then Kroger basically said, we have I'll say the jab. How about that?
A jab date.
Yes, it had a jab date policy, which you disagreed with.
I completely did. Yeah.
Yep. And you decided to not do the deal.
Yes.
Even though, and you didn't know whether that was going to be a massive financial hit to you and you couldn't recover. You didn't know what was going to happen to that. You said no. And tell us about that.
So I woke up and I read the news. I always get up a couple hours before everybody in my house. I have stuff to do. There's international business. And, so I'm reading the morning news, which I always do. I look through what's going on and I see that Kroger is mandating the shot. And if you don't get it, they don't fire you, but they give you a penalty. And for me, for someone who's making Kroger salaries, even $100 a month is a lot of money. And it's just a principle. It's a fact of the matter that even like now we have all the information. Then we had enough information to know, look, it's experimental. It shouldn't be mandated for anybody. And even if it isn't experimental, look, the survival rate is natural, whatever. We're going to you guys know what I'm going to say. Okay. I'm not going to argue for.
I will say, people thought it was going to be the plague.
Yes.
It was not the plague.
Yes. There you go.
Right? It was not the plague.
Thank you.
Now, to be clear, if you're in a specific demographic, like over 65, obese with comorbidities, in that case, it's the plague. But unless you're in that specific demographic, not really a plague.
But even if you're in that demographic, there's no proof that this helps at all. That's the problem. Correct. Even now, there's no proof. So anyway, so I wrote it. I'm like, I don't do anything unless I tell my wife, and my wife is much less, I'm more of a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. So I'm like, Katie, I want to, my wife's name is Katie. I'm like, I can't do this. And she goes, I agree. I'm like, oh, I didn't expect you to agree. Whoa. So I drafted the email to my buyer over there. And I'm like, look, as long as this mandate is in place, I cannot I need to take a stand for your employees. This is for you because their CEO is a woke weirdo, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll say that to his face. I don't care what it costs me, but anybody doing this is in the wrong. Like history is going to put them right up there with Mengele and Hitler and everybody like that. These people are evil.
Kanye just did the Hitler thing. Don't be Kanye. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I can do it. I got the star. I got
you got your shield. You got your Nazi shield. I got you.
Yeah, and I also got my K1 from owning Hollywood. It's awesome. And
I love that. Good.
And so I was like, I can't do it. And then he emailed back like, hey, look, and I'm like, I just can't. And so the only reason I wasn't going to post it publicly, but I announced to everybody that we're going into Kroger. I was really proud of it. So I'm like, hey guys, here's why we're not going into Kroger. And I just put it out there. Next thing you know, it's being retweeted by Donald Trump Jr. and everybody and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Massey and all these people. And I'm like, oh crap. Like it went nuts. So the next week I'm on Timcast and, kind of explaining it. And it was, the thing is, did it do anything? I expected there's a lot of health companies that pretend to be freedom fighters. Merca this, Merca that. A lot of bars and nutritional supplements within Kroger do the same. They preach that whole, we're pro-American, pro-freedom.
Yep.
But when push came to shove, these spineless scumbags, I expected to start something. I expected that it would be a ripple effect and people would look beyond the finances and say, hey, this is what's best for my country and this is what's best for freedom. And not one company followed suit. So then I learned, but you know what? I don't care, because every morning I wake up and I'm happy with the person I am, the decision I made, and the fact that I stuck to what I believed in. And you talk about setting an example for your kids, that's priceless. You know, you can't buy me. I will not sell out. There's no price that would ever make me do something like that. That goes against my ethics and my morals and my belief in what I can do as an American to help my fellow citizen.
It's funny you say that, right? I have a similar, obviously different world, but similar concept. Both times when I ran for office, the two major parties wanted to somehow buy me off. Of course. And would it have been easier if I'd done that? Would I have made more cash? Absolutely. What most people don't realize is it's legal in America from your campaign donations to pay you the salary of the job you're trying to achieve. So if I would have run as Democrat or Republican, they literally just would have paid me the salary of the governor or lieutenant governor, whatever I run as, to just basically get me to not run. So they basically would have done that. And that's legal. That can be done. That's not illegal at all. Can be done. There was a be lieutenant governor and we'll pay you the salary lieutenant governor, you know, for the next year. Just shut up and don't run. But I said no. So I literally would and they wouldn't have cared. I could have kept working. Like, they just wanted me out of the picture. So I wouldn't have to do anything. I could have been on the ticket, got the cash, and went back to work. Nobody would have said a thing. So I kind of agree with what you're saying. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep going. It's hard for people to do that. Let me grab a couple of comments.
I'd love
a couple of comments popping up here. Cameron says, keep up the good work, Mr. Sharp. Thank you so much. I'm trying my best. Absolutely. Let's say here, no soundbites live. I'm sorry, allowed, who's actually Michael Vasquez, says, I was going to tape my 10-year gun control video, but I wanted to watch you live. I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me see here if I get some other ones here. Michael says, blue, Nashville, Chat, Memphis, and Knoxville. The rest of the state is red except for those places. So is Nashville, Chat, Memphis, and Knoxville blue?
So major cities are more blue than the other areas, but you got to realize with the redistricting, the only red area we had for Congress for the latest election was actually Memphis. So the whole state went Republican. The whole state was red. It was one big red, except for one little dot where Memphis is. So I would argue that, so because people are moving in here, basically all the Republicans from New York, Illinois, and California are moving to Tennessee, which has made us more red. And those people are moving to the cities like Nashville and Chattanooga. So the migration, and I see this firsthand. I don't care what you think, because my neighbors, none of these people are from Tennessee. And all of them make me look like Bernie Sanders. I mean, these people are so far to the right.
They're coming from New York. I tell people this. New York is no longer has any chance of a Republican winning in a statewide election because they all moved to Tennessee and Florida. Florida is now a red state because of New Yorkers.
It's balkanization. And like I said, like the time to fight is pretty much over in New York because everybody there, they want to be told what to do. They want to be told to put masks on. They want their kids to be jabbed with an experimental product. So, you know, that's the thing. I think that we're far past the point of winning hearts and minds, and you just have to go where your people are. And that's the beauty of federalism. I actually like it this way. I like living in Tennessee, and I'll just stay out of the states that, you know, not necessarily I don't agree with, that I just don't feel like I fit in.
Absolutely. I love that. The Scientific Libertarian has a question for you. He says there's about a 70% chance that guy knows what myostatin inhibitors are. If
they're legal, they're baloney. I'm not going to curse. They don't work.
You can swear at YouTube.
Yeah, you can't. So here's the thing. There are some prescription follistatin and stuff like that do inhibit myostatin, but I would be very wary of that because your body has myostatin for a reason. And anytime you get involved in blocking something that's there to prevent something, you're looking at things like potential tumor growths. I wouldn't mess with anything that's prescription or gray or black market. But if it's a supplement sold over the counter claiming to inhibit myostatin, it's complete bullshit.
Well, there we go. See, he did know. See, he absolutely knew.
It's what I do. It's my wheelhouse.
I want to go down that road since he brought it up. But before I go there, let me quick. Logic Rex says something which I think is great. She says, currently 9 months sober. I think it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, if not the best.
The best.
Look at that. I love that. Good to go.
The best. Yeah.
And then Tubb says, I've always say you can't complain and do nothing.
Facts.
There we go. I love that. So you got some people who are liking this. I love this. Alexander says, 10 minutes in this video, and I'm already in love with this guy. Mark, write a book.
I have books, but they're diet and training books. So I put out about a free book every month because I don't charge for content. I just charge for supplements. That's how I pay my bills.
There we go. Now, speaking of supplements, right? You're not against supplements at all.
I sell them for a living.
Yes. Yeah. So when some people feel when they hear you say things like that, we just said, oh, this guy must be some purist or something, but you're not. You just want to make sure that it doesn't go to what you call chemical warfare, that you're supplementing your body with the right stuff, but you're not going to a point where now you're going to damage your body. Am I right?
I think I need to nip this in the bud because I am on prescription testosterone replacement therapy, which a lot of aging males our age are. My endocrine system took a dump in my mid-20s. I was a militant natural bodybuilder at the time. And, the good thing is on TRT, I've accomplished quite a bit. I'm not going to say that early in my bodybuilding career, I didn't do things I regret on the steroid front. I'm very honest about that, but I want to nip that in the bud because once I start talking about supplements, people immediately go to, you're on steroids. And I'm like, okay, let's just, again, like there's no off limits area for me to discuss, but
hold on, let me be very clear. Transparency is the key.
Absolutely.
No one's going to be angry if you do X or Y. If you go, no, I'm doing X or Y, whatever. You'd
be amazed. People get angry at everything. But yeah, I do think what we learned from 2020 is that what it proved is that supplements do work. I remember there were a lot of videos on YouTube back in the mid 2010s where they were talking about multivitamins and vitamin supplements in general were a waste. You just pee them out, etc. Just saying that you just pee them out. Obviously, you have no idea how things work in the body. But essentially, what we've shown is that with quercetin, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, with those vitamins, we've actually shown that they help to prevent the replication of viruses. So a lot of people in their prophylactic treatments, and I know the doctors, I forgot what they're called, but the ones who were banned from Twitter for actually giving you an alternative treatment.
The great Barrington Accord doctor.
That's it. But they were recommending these things that we've known for years. We always knew that vitamin D had almost an equal effect of the flu shot in certain years because the flu shot's essentially a guess. And some years it can be 50% effective. Some years it's 10. Vitamin D is actually around 10% effective against the flu. So on certain years, vitamin D is just as effective as flu shot. So when this thing hit, I'm like, oh my goodness, if people took vitamin D, and I did a video on this in April of 2020, and I got shadow banned on YouTube just for saying, we didn't even call it, we didn't even call it COVID back then. We called it the Mexican beer virus.
Yes.
Right? And I said that. And by saying that and vitamin D, my views like crashed. I'm talking like 1/20th. And I'm like, what the hell did I say? I had no idea till 2021 that was what did me in. It was right at that video it dropped because they shadow banned me. But what I like, the main reason I use supplements is for health. There are certain things.
Before we go down that road, I want to show some solidarity with you, brother. The same thing happened to me. Yeah. When I wasn't even saying lockdowns were bad yet, I was just going, do we really want to do lockdowns? Boom. My viewership went down 90%, 85 to 90%.
Same.
Like that. And I didn't even go, no lockdowns. No, I said, do we want to do this? Boom. Yeah. Now crazy, I have to stream my stuff literally over 8 or 10 separate different platforms to get the same number of views I used to get only on Facebook.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But
so keep going on your supplements. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So, I mean, for general health and preventing certain things, and we know that quercetin is an ionophore, which helps the other nutrients get into the cell. What it does, it makes the cell permeable. So, I really did a lot of research and delving into that. And, so my main issue is health. And again, like we know things like creatine work. There's more studies on creatine than anything but caffeine. And there's a ton of data that shows that it helps. Is it steroid-like gains? No, nothing is. The only steroid-like gains you're getting are from steroids. But supplements do just that. They supplement your diet and training. They don't substitute.
There we go. I love it. Alexander goes on to say, Mark is correct. The CDC released a report which showed that 70% of COVID fatalities were due to obesity. There we go. I like that. CJ says, thanks for what you do, Larry. Owe you a beverage or two back upstate. When I'm back up there, I'm going to hold you to that. Yes. But it won't be alcohol, probably coffee. That's fine.
Protein shake. Okay. Everybody gets a protein shake.
Protein shake. There we go. Absolutely. Yes. So Alexander goes on to say, Kroger's just brought Albertson. I didn't know that.
They're huge. Wow. They're enormous. And we're based in Cincinnati. And so are they. So it would have made so much sense. And it sucks because everybody in this category wants to get into Kroger. But again, like what is your worth? Like, what is your value? And I value my ethics and my word more than I value. I can't go on Twitter and say freedom, 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 and then do something completely in reverse.
There we go. Somebody's allowed says, in a nation with cornerstone of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, experimental mandate is unconstitutional and autocratic.
Correct.
And that's correct. Sam says, I have to buy/try some of the outright bars. I've lost about 30 pounds since election season.
Hell
Sam,
yes.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Go, man.
Love it. Yes.
Look at you go. I love that. All righty. Let's see if I can go down here. Scientific Libertarian goes on to say, vitamin D typically helps people who already have a vitamin D deficiency. If you don't have deficiency, then probably won't do much. I haven't heard that. Is that true?
Well, I mean, the problem is a lot of people do have a deficiency. So here's the thing. In the winter months when you're not getting as much sunlight, absolutely. A lot of Americans work indoors all day. A construction worker, village people, the YMCA, they're doing just fine. Someone who's a lifeguard is doing just fine. Me, I work indoors all day. When I'm not indoors, I'm in a gym. So, I mean, I'm either in an office or a gym, depending on which job I'm doing at the time. So I am vitamin D deficient. Another group of people who we really need to be cognizant about their vitamin D intake are those with darker complexion because they have lower vitamin D levels. A lot of reasons is like Black people generally don't tan. So it's just like, so if you're darker complected,
I didn't sunburn until I was 18.
Wow. I sunburn
I didn't
thinking about 18. The sun. Yes. I sunburn under bright lights indoors. That's how bad it is. So I mean, you're absolutely correct, but most of society is deficient in vitamin D. So I agree with you 100%. But I always say, like, a multivitamin, a vitamin D supplement, it's insurance because it's really hard to get toxicity from vitamin D. You can, but it's really tough.
So you have tigerfitness.com. Right?
Yes.
And you have Tiger Fitness, a YouTube page.
Yes.
The thing that I notice about your YouTube page, which I think is different, there are many YouTubers out there who talk about fitness or bodybuilding or insert thing here, whatever is the fitness piece. But you don't just do that. Like, you talk about the industry, you talk about theory, you talk about even the politics, current events. You talk about things that aren't just, okay, here's how you do a deadlift, right? You're not doing that, right? Why? I mean, why not do what the others are doing? Why not just go, okay, here's how to do a deadlift? Why are you going where you're going?
Well, I mean, a lot of what I'm doing now is moving into 2023 is more focusing on health. And in 2020, I think, and regardless of views and clickbait, obviously you have to have clickbaity titles. I try to make them as clickbaity as possible. People are like, clickbait. I'm like, yes, good. I did my job. At the end of the day, if nobody watches it, did it really happen? So I'm at the point now where I just want to talk about health, and I want to talk about how to make society better. For example, the video I have that went up yesterday was about hand grip strength and longevity. In that they have this data that shows that strength is actually more correlated and more important than cardio for longevity. And it makes complete sense if you look at it, but there's a lot of correlations. You can't just take a study for its value. You have a lot of studies. You have to look at them. Right. So I think that so they measured grip strength, but my theory is someone who's more active, who's not fat, who's actually out there exercising and grabbing things and gardening and doing what old people do when they're active, they're going to have better grip strength than someone who just sits down, watches TV, and eats Cheetos all day, So I think that the remote doesn't really work your grip that much. So I think that grip is a correlative effect of just being fit and healthy. Because if you're healthy and you're exercising, you're going to have to grab something sooner or later. And I
remember when I many years ago, I used to live in Okinawa, Japan. And I used to teach English over there. And this is in the 80s, 90s, many years ago. And people may know that that's one of the blue areas of the world. Some of the oldest people on the planet live in Okinawa, Japan. And what I notice is there are many people who their grandmother or great-grandmother is still alive. Like that's a thing if you go. That's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. You have every week someone's having a 100-year birthday party, right? That's a thing there, right? So, but why? Because to your point, even in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they're literally outside doing things. Yes. Like you could be 80 years old and you're still taking care of your great granddaughter who's at the park, right? You're physically doing things. And I never forget, Japanese don't shake hands very often. They usually bow. But when they see an American, they will sometimes want to shake hands, right? Because they know that Americans shake hands. So I would shake the hand of a guy who's like 85 years old and he'd be crushing me. That's why I thought it is when you said that the grip. I'd be like I'm afraid. So I want to be soft in my grip, right? So I would go thinking, oh, this guy's like 80, 90 years old. I want to be soft. And he's like, I'm like, mercy. Oh, yeah. Right? He's killing it. I think when you said that, it made me think of that. And that's anecdotal, obviously, but it connects directly what you just said.
Yeah, I think we need to look at the overall picture of it. And the bottom line is the data on strength, on cardio, it's all good. What it means is get off your butt, eat healthy foods, and be active, move around, be happy, smile, have sex, do human things, do primal things. What is lifting? What's a squat? It's a primal movement. Squatting's a primal movement. Yeah. What's a deadlift? It's bending. Bending is a primal movement. Pushing things up. Like think about what you have to do to survive in the wild. Those are all primal movements we should all be able to do. And if you don't like lifting, cool. Just be active. Do 30 to 60 minutes of activity a day. Go on a walk. Hell, if you eat 3 times a day, go on a 10-minute walk after each meal. Not only will that help Stan Efferding, actually, he coined that, the 10-minute walk phrase. I'm not going to steal his stuff. But, at the end of the day, it's going to improve your blood glucose utilization. It's going to decrease your chance of diabetes. And diabetes is a new thing. Type 2 diabetes should not be normal. Yep. Yet we have insulin pins everywhere. We got these insulin receptacles in every bathroom. And the bottom line is that it's because of how we eat, we can't even get out of the car to get our damn Starbucks.
That's good. Logic Rex asks, she says, intermittent fasting for about 8 months now. Combo with staying sober. Think the combo helped me lose about 67 pounds. Wow, that's a lot of weight. 217 heaviest. I'm down to 150. What does Mark think about meal replacement shakes? Do you have a feeling? Because she goes on to say she's been using Kachava for a few months and she loves the shakes. Curious as to what Mark thinks about Kachava. If he's heard the company, he's happy. She's happy with it.
So off the bat, I have no idea what that company is, but I'll say this about meal replacements is it's all about the ingredients. Cause you can't just people like, what do you think about fat burners? I'm like, well, which one? I make one. I think mine are great. Most of them are garbage. So it's like, it depends on the ingredients. Again, if you have something made with, a lot of them use cheap maltodextrin, which is just basically, it's a complex carbohydrate, yet it has no micronutrients. It basically, it's just a complex carb, but it's fast, it's empty, it's just calories. All right. So you look at protein source. Is it soy? Is it whey? Is it, and then you look at fats. Does it have healthy fats? So meal replacement shake doesn't mean much. What it really comes down to is, are you eating at a caloric deficit or a caloric surplus? If you're trying to lose weight, you eat in a deficit. If you're trying to gain weight, you eat in a surplus. So I would look at what the protein content is, number one. If you're eating any kind of shake, I like to keep my protein or anybody's protein at around 50% of your total caloric intake, sometimes as low as 40, but a lot of people just undereat protein. And protein is very beneficial for a lot of things, especially if you're weight training, especially if you're exercising. So I would look at that, but I can't make any comments of it. So the thoughts on meal replacement shakes, it just means which one, and is it satiating you to the point where you are able to maintain a caloric deficit if fat loss is your goal? So the answer is it depends.
Got it. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. That's good. Alexander brings up the idea of, does Mark have any advice for vegan/vegetarian bodybuilders? Now, I think you support the keto lifestyle, or no?
I support every lifestyle if it makes you, if it works for you, as long as you get adequate protein, adequate healthy fats. Carbs are non-essential, but I usually like carbs. I eat a lot of carbs or else I'll shrink down to nothing, but I have different goals than the normal person who isn't training heavy for 90 minutes a day, 7 days a week. So there's different goals. And I also have a super fast metabolism. So it just depends on the person. Now, I do coach a guy. He's a Native American. So he has been vegetarian or vegan his whole life because his tribe, they don't eat meat because it's aggression. Killing is aggression. And they don't think plants are killed. So I don't know. But anyway, so
it's fine.
His name is
do what you want.
His name is Nebecher Bay. His nickname is Hawk. And you can follow him online. So we got him at second this year in the Universe, which is it's a show you could do drugs at, but he's all natural. So, and the guy looks fantastic. And so basically all you need to learn is I actually, full disclosure, I own a company called Ambrosia. It's called the Ambrosia Collective. We have the #1 selling plant protein at the vitamin shop called Planta. And the reason I'm going to bring that up is it's what he uses. And it's the main protein source. Vegan protein sources generally come with carbs and other stuff in it, a lot of processed garbage. So as long as you're able to, whether it's from my powder or another trusted powder, or you're able to get it from other vegan things, I would recommend against the fake meat because it's really full of garbage. But if you can get
fake meat's so popular now,
it's so bad. Even Hawk won't eat that. He won't eat that. So because he doesn't, it's horrible. But what we'll do is, as long as you get adequate protein, you're in a good spot. So whether your protein comes from a vegan protein source, as long as it's a complete protein, which brown rice and pea mixed together makes a complete protein. As long as you have a complete protein source, you're in a good spot. So it's not about, and it's sure the biological value, which is how much of it your body can use. I believe brown rice and pea is about 80%, whereas whey is 107 and the egg is 100. So regardless, if you get 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, whether it's from a vegan source or from an animal source, you're going to be fine. I would just pay attention to potential deficiencies like vitamin B12 and EPA and DHA, which you can also get from a seaweed extract. So you can absolutely make phenomenal gains.
You said 1 pound of protein,
1 gram.
I'm sorry, 1 gram of protein per pound of that you weigh. Does it matter if you are working out to be a bodybuilder, or if you have more of a different lifestyle, or is that universal?
I used to think it only pertained to people training, but then you look at the anorectic effects of protein, especially whey protein. It has an anorectic effect, which means it blunts your appetite. And also protein is extremely inefficient in that glucose is used by your brain and your body very efficiently. Whereas when your body uses protein for energy, it has to break the protein down into a carbohydrate via a process known as gluconeogenesis, which is inefficient. So if you were to replace your carbohydrate with your protein, I believe your appetite would be better suppressed. You'd have less of spikes in blood sugar, and it all comes down to not eating too much. So if you're able to mitigate your appetite by having, more protein in your diet, you'll have a much easier time in reaching your fat loss goals and in maintaining a healthy body weight.
So you also have brought up recently one of your videos. You talk about something that I've been talking about forever, and people thought I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was crazy. But I was saying fat's not bad. Like, your brain likes fat. If you're not going to have sugar, then have some fat. Like, have fat. It's not a bad thing, right? I've been keto lifestyle for 12 years now. So it is rare that I eat sugar or carbs, but I do, but rare. But I sometimes don't eat enough fat. Like, I should be probably eating more fat because I'm not having enough carbs. So But you've talked about that. Fat isn't, I eat a lot of fat and I don't gain a huge amount of weight unless I also eat carbs. Then I start putting on both.
That's calories, because you're eliminating a third of the food groups possible. So, I mean, there's 3 macronutrients. There's fat, protein, and carbs. You know, and if you eliminate one of those, you only got 67% of the food opportunities. And also all the delicious foods are made of carbs. If I'm going to overeat something, it's going to be chips or popcorn or whatever. So, I mean, it comes down to caloric control. But here's the thing is that I just did a video about this. The evidence is pretty strongly stating that saturated fat isn't going to kill you. It's not unhealthy. Essentially, if you exercise and you eat whole natural foods, you'll be in a really good spot. So if you exercise, you don't glutton yourself and overeat and be in a hypercaloric state, which means more calories than you burn, then you're going to be in a really good spot. So whether you choose to make up your calories, as long as you get adequate. So what I say a good rule of thumb is get around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, assuming you're not obese. If you're obese, take it down to 0.6, 0.7 grams per pound. Fat between 0.3 and 0.5 grams per pound. Fill in the rest of your caloric needs with carbohydrate. Now, if you're keto, you can set that protein, and instead of having the carbs, just fill the rest with fat and you're good to go. Or just have fattier chunks of meat. And I think you'll be in a really good spot. So it just comes down to, my brother called it the ELS diet, eat less shit. If you eat less shit,
I like that.
If you eat less shit, no matter what your macronutrient outlay, I think you'll be in a really, really good place. And that's what I tell people. So I can get you, again, I've gotten, when I did my last spot, when I did the USAs and I won, my carbs were 360 grams or 350 grams a day. And I was getting, I was the most shredded guy up there, and I won despite not being the biggest guy and probably being the most closest to natural guy on that stage. So
there we go.
It depends on the individual, and some people just really churn carbohydrates well. It comes down to the individual, their insulin sensitivity, the amount of muscle mass. Like, I have so much muscle. If I don't have carbohydrate, I'm in a really weird place. So again, I'm going to be different than others. So I'm a fan of whatever diet works for you. And that's why I'm like, you know what? Try something, give it 8 to 12 weeks, give it a good shot. And if you like it, if it's how you could see the rest of your life being, then by all means do it. I'm Jewish and I need to eat bagels.
There we go. I like that. It's good.
It's
so guys, if you like what we're doing, do me a favor. We were talking about being shadow banned before. Help me not be shadow banned. Go over and subscribe to the Sharp Way YouTube, right? I know I have a ton of channels, but I'm pumping this one specifically. Please do me a favor and please check and subscribe to the Sharp Way YouTube. And while you're on YouTube subscribing, you can head over, if you want, to the Tiger Fitness and subscribe to that one too, if you like. You could do both, but hook me up with this show. Do that to grow that specific page. It's going to help tremendously. It really does. And also, of course, please also check out tigerfitness.com and follow Marc at on Twitter at MarcLobliner. Do that and follow him there to see what we're doing. It does matter tremendously. The last piece I'll ask you today, that I will ask my audience today, is to support the show in one other way. And that is go to our sponsors, theadvocates.org. They are our sponsors. So please do me a favor. Head over to theadvocates.org. The link is right there in the description. Click on that and take one of their surveys. There are many of them. I put here today the Identity, Politics, and Political Correctness survey. There's lots of them. There's one on foreign affairs. There's one on monetary policy. Check those surveys. They take about 4 to 5 to 6 minutes. Once you're done with them, share your results. Other people will go. It's free, 100% free. You support the show without a dollar, nothing. You can save your money so you can buy some supplements from Marc. See that? So you're saving money from me so you can buy some supplements from Marc. This is free. It supports the show. The advocates want us to make that happen. So please help me out. Make that happen. I would appreciate it tremendously. So I do want to go down to a couple more of these comments. I'm going to get a bunch more comments.
Oh, you have the best people.
Yes,
these people are amazing. I love them.
I have a very loyal and engaging audience.
Oh, they're the best.
Michael, he's the second person to ask about this. How does your guest feel about intermittent fasting? He's actually the third person who's asked this. What do you think about the intermittent fasting? Do you have an opinion on either way?
There are zero health benefits. In fact, there are potential negatives due with thyroid hormone and testosterone, albeit such a low amount, I wouldn't care. And here's why I'm going at that. The main benefit of intermittent fasting is if you only have a 6-hour eating window, there's less of an opportunity to fuck up. So if you are trying to lose weight, and you find that not eating at all prevents you and triggering you from being triggered to eat more and overeat, then intermittent fasting is a great way for some people, not me. Again, with my muscle mass, it just doesn't work. But my business partners at Ambrosia, Mike Rashid and Shantor Body, Mike's a professional boxer, but he's been doing it for so long. He's a 1 meal a day guy. He's like Herschel Walker, but without the loss. And but no, Mike literally can go box and weight train and perform optimally and look better than me. And the man can eat 1 grain of rice. You know, he's like, great. Right. But for me, my blood sugar, my metabolism through the roof. But over the years, his body has kind of adapted, metabolic adaptation to that eating style. That's how he's always done it. For me, I need to eat. So if it helps you to remain in a hypocaloric state and make better food choices, then by all means do it. Just realize the autophagy message and all that, it's pretty much been debunked. And actually, if you're gonna fast, the latest data shows that it's better to fast in the latter part of the day than the early part of the day. So instead of skipping breakfast, skip dinner. Is what we've pretty much learned, and that'll increase, that'll do more. So if you're looking at fasting, again, I would eat during the first part of the day and cut out food during the last. So the first 6 hours of the day or whatever 6-hour window you have, just make sure there's about 3 or more hours before bed where you don't eat. And I believe that will give you better effects as far as your hormonal output, as far as your circadian rhythm, all those things. But that's all nitpicky. At the end of the day, if you remain unfat, and if you're able to mitigate your appetite and control overeating, you're 90% there.
So what I'm hearing from you constantly, which makes sense to me, is a lot of this is personal.
Yes.
A lot of this is how does your body function best, right? And I've said this in another way. People often say, Larry, should I go on keto like you? And I go, I don't know. I know keto works for me. It works. It keeps my weight down. So it works for me. I don't know if it'll work for you. Maybe. Yeah. And some people I know can jump on keto and they love it. And it seems to just change their lifestyle and they're good. And some struggle horribly to where they get so angry, they binge and they get worse because they're like, I can't have carbs. Now I'm going to have 9 pizzas today. Right. They go crazy over it. Right. Yeah. So I've seen both of those things. I love that. You're not trying to say, I have all the answers for you when you ask a question. You're saying you got to walk down a road. So are you saying then that, you know, having a trainer is a good idea? I guess why I say this is, and it's going to sound bad, but please take it the right way. There are a lot of bad trainers.
Oh, a ton of them. I see them daily.
I don't mean to be mean. I'm just being forward.
You got to really, you got to look at who he is or she. There are a lot of great trainers of all genders, all 97 genders. Sorry. I think that you just need to look at them. If you agree with their ideology, if you agree with what they're doing, if they practice what they preach. I'm not one of those like hire me because I'm bigger than the other guy. But I think if your trainer's fat, you probably shouldn't hire them. And that's just my bias. I personally, now I even have a coach. I am a professional coach. When I get ready for shows, I have this guy, his name's Jose Raymond. He is in my opinion, the greatest 212 bodybuilder of the early 2000s. And Jose directs me because I can't be objective when getting in that kind of shape. Just like quarterbacks have a quarterback coach. You know what I mean? Like the guy, like, dude, Tom Brady still has a quarterback coach, right? You know what I mean? Like, he's the greatest of all time. So I do think it can help if you can afford it. You know, I do coaching at marclobliner.com. There's a lot of people selling these programs and this and that. And the people on Twitter, like, only 30 minutes left, only 5 minutes left. It's like, you'll never see me do that. You know, my results speak for themselves. My clients' results speak for themselves. I don't coach competitors per se anymore. I mostly coach people just trying to make their life better. Just because that's where I've gone. And, you know, it's where my passion is helping people and
Got it.
bodybuilders.
Okay.
I don't get,
But you do think a coach is a good idea. So it's not.
I think it helps.
What about like what about things like, are you a fan of technology helping? Like, an app on your phone or some video series you watch on the YouTube or something like that?
Look at my wrist. I have an Apple Watch and a Whoop strap. I know every single heartbeat. I know my sleep cycle. I know if I'm stressed. I know if I'm going to get sick. Oh, technology has come so far. And yes, I love my Whoop strap. My Apple Watch. I mean, that's just I just use that for the time now. The Whoop strap does everything I need. And absolutely. I think that, but for the most part, the Whoop strap's going to tell you what you already know. Get adequate sleep and and train. I think, and you'll notice, but it gives you positive reinforcement. And I'm a numbers guy. I like data. I own multiple businesses, and I was just presenting at a board meeting on Monday. And what I've learned from being helping manage a multi-billion-dollar company is that you need data, and data reinforces positively or negatively the decisions you make.
Absolutely. Chris says, Mark, I'm a bodybuilder and picked up a lot of great tips on resistance band training from Mark during the COVID lockdowns. Well, there we go. You're helping people. Awesome. You knew that. I love it. That is great. Awesome. I love that. Very nice. So let's see here. I think you made Logix upset. She's like, damn, I was fasting 20 hours a day at one point. Pretty sure Mark would think that's horrible.
It depends. If you lost weight and you reached your goals, like I said, my partner Mike Rashid will, in a boxing match, he will beat the living hell out of me. He's a pro boxer, and he'll out squat me any day of the week. And he eats one meal a day for most of the days. So again, it's if it worked for what your goals are and what your body craves and needs and what makes you tick. By all means, if you know the Hodge twins, they're conservative now. They used to be. Oh, yeah. We used to do collaborations when they were the fitness twin muscle workout was their YouTube channel. So we used to do collaborations all the time. And those guys have been fasting since before it was cool. They're one of the first ones, and they're jacked. Like those guys. I mean, you could look up videos of me and the Hodge twins. It was a good time back then. Good time.
There we go. So another question Michael has is the gut is the body's second brain. Any thoughts on the importance of a healthy gut biome? I've heard a lot of people recently talk about the gut. That's been a very common thing that I've heard, that my wife talked about it. My friends talk about it. What's your view on that?
It's everything. Your immune system's in your gut. So, I currently take probiotics. I make some under my brands. And every morning when I wake up, I have probably I don't even measure it out, just a few bites of Greek yogurt, just to get the positive stuff going in my stomach. So I take all my supplements. I drink one of these full of water and an organ health product I have called Nectar and another product called Mental Jewels. So I'll take all my pills, drink it in that. Then I'll take in some Greek yogurt just to get the healthy stuff going. But I also have the probiotics and I take a lot of probiotics. I have something called Machine Uptake, which is a wafer, which I'll chomp those throughout the day. I'm a huge fan of that. And healthy microbiome, I think people look at what about sucralose? I wouldn't worry about that. Artificial sweetener's fine. I wouldn't worry about that ruining your microbiome. But what I would do is just when you can, get your probiotics. I do like fiber. Fiber really helps to harness that, gives your gut something to kind of feed on and kind of form those prebiotics and stuff in your body. So I would keep your fiber adequate. And I would supplement with a healthy probiotic digestive enzyme blend and eat some yogurt or some kefir. Those are all good, or fermented foods are great. All of those are good.
So the reason why I brought this up and why I spent so much time on this, which usually I don't spend that much time on this, but I wanted to because you actually reminded me, no, the reverse, I'm sorry. Maj Toure reminded me of you.
That's my guy.
What it was. Yes. Because you and Maj, both Liberty and both something else, you're about the individual being stronger to help others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why we get along.
Yes, exactly. And so I was talking to Maj and I thought of you. That's why I reached out to you but he reminded me of you. And
he's the greatest. They're so good.
I adore Maj 100%. And the thing that we don't talk about enough on my channel or any Liberty leaning channel, at all is about the value of an individual being physically, mentally, nutritionally strong to be able to defend themselves and others, and not just defend matters, but also being able to help themselves and others. And this is why I push this issue, right? A lot. I tease because, I'm not a bodybuilder at all, but I've thrown the first pitch out at a couple of baseball games as a
Awesome.
candidate for governor. I'm in my 50s and I can still throw a strike. So I do that not because I'm trying to show off. I'm not, but I'm saying I can still do this. Other people should do whatever's their thing. Mine is throwing a strike, whatever, right? Whatever is the thing you want to do. And I do feel that there is value in it. It isn't just, well, Larry, you want to be a gun guy, or Larry, you want to be a gym guy, or Larry, you want to be a whatever guy. It's no, I want everyone to be in as best mental and physical shape as possible, because we got to be able to help each other. It is that simple in my view.
Have you ever heard the phrase, they want you fat, sick, and weak?
Yes.
The reason is because then they control you. You're owned by big pharma. You have to take this pill to live. You have to do this.
Yes.
You can't, if like fat people had to be scared out of their minds, seeing that 78% of people dying from the virus.
No, because no one told them that. No, they weren't scared because no one told them that. No one said that. They all said everybody's going to die. They didn't tell them that till like a year later.
Yeah. And then even then I'd be scared. And fat acceptance is like accepting death and mediocrity. And we got to stop coddling these people and lying to them. We're literally killing people by being woke, by being soft, by being politically correct. Look, if you're fat, you're going to die early, period. The end. There's no debate about it. You don't see many obese people living past 80 years old. You just don't. If you go to the nursing home, it's usually the frail, old, skinny people. It's like, and that's you rarely see these huge fat people. And if you do, they're in a really bad place. But then you see a fit old person. Jack LaLanne was dragging ships across the Pacific.
He was like 90.
By his teeth at 90.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's what I want to do. I don't care if I live to 90, 80, whatever it is, but I want to make sure that every year I live is an optimal year. And your life sucks if you're fat. And I say sucks because it would be so much better if you weren't fat. And that's not meant to by any means degrade people. That's meant to tell people that you can do better, that you don't have to be fat. I was born this way. I get plastic surgery. Let's assume no plastic surgery. I was born with this nose. I was born with these ears. I was born with my skin tone. I can't change that. But you're not born fat. There's very few people who have metabolism or PCOS or a hormonal issue that's causing them to be fat. Fat is usually caused by inactivity and gluttony. And there's no reason to accept that. You're better than that. And accepting mediocrity is not acceptable.
I remember when I went to get a procedure done earlier this year. Every year before I run for office, I do a full physical to make sure that, so in case anything's wrong, I'll know before I'm running. If anyone ever asks for my medical documents, I can show them I have a full physical. And what was surprising when I did it this year before I ran is that 4 times they asked me, what medications are you on? And when I told them I wasn't on any, they asked again. Like they thought that someone made a mistake. I forgot to ask him. Like, no, none. Then I went to the next person. Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't ask the question. What medications you on? Like, no, it's empty because there are none. So many people of my age where I am are on medications. So for me to not have a prescription, it was crazy. So yeah, I think that's your point's a valid one. I think I was talking to my friend the other day, and I said, she was talking, this is actually today. She was talking about how long do we want to live? And I said, well, I want to live as long as I can, as long as I have a good life, right? Yes. Whatever that is, as long as I'm able to do things I want to do, go out and be active. I would live to 300 if I thought I could have a good life at 300. But the odds are once I start getting 80, 90, life may not be so good anymore. Who knows, right? But the point is, as long as I can have a good life, to your point, who cares how long you live as long as you're having a good life? I mean, that's really the key, right?
Or you could just move to Canada and they'll just kill you at 60.
Also true. Which also solves a problem another way.
Hey, maybe they're right.
Mike says, Maj's a great guy, strong, focused, and personable. I agree completely.
He's
Great.
my guy.
Yes.
Yeah. There's so many good people out there, and all we see is the bad, but like at the end of the day, now you're seeing kind of Twitter open up with Elon and everything. And turns out more people are like us and a lot of people are just paid bots. And it was a big
Absolutely.
psyop. It was a big
Yes.
psyop. But if you go out in the community, and I travel, one of my business, Ambrosia, our headquarters in California. I have another in Utah, another in Ohio, and another in Vegas. And I live in Tennessee, and I'm all over the place. I did an event in New York earlier this year, and most people are sane.
Yes.
I've been all over the place. I haven't had any bad experiences. I've had nobody come at me. And I'm not saying we don't have our problems. We have the drag shows and all that. Those are problems. But I think that's such a small percentage. And the good news is now we can talk about it. And now we can self-police. And now we can have these debates. And so, again, but it all starts with take control. Don't worry about the world until you fix your own world. You need to fix your own community. You need to work locally. That's a libertarian thing, okay?
Yes,
like the federal government has very little bearing on what happens in your state. Worry about your state. And that's why I moved from Illinois to Tennessee before 2020, is because I wanted to live with people who are like-minded to me. And now that I've found my home, there is no changing Illinois. I am going to do my best to make sure that my community is in good standing. But outside of that, before you go to community, make sure your family's right. Make sure your personal finances are right. Make sure you're healthy.
Absolutely.
Make sure you have personal responsibility. Make sure you learn to use a firearm. Make sure you learn how to fight. Things like that. You need to make sure that you get your house in order before you worry about other people's houses.
Absolutely. So I want to say, if you want to follow what Marc is doing, tigerfitness.com is a great place to go. Tiger Fitness YouTube channel, great place to go. Or just follow him on Twitter at Marc Lobliner, which is M-A-R-C, if you are listening and not watching, L-O-B-L-I-N-E-R, if you want to check him out on Twitter. Marc, anything else we should bring up before we wrap this up?
I'm going to go coach some kids, man. It's going to be a beautiful day. I got a whole football team coming in.
I love that. That is amazing. Guys, I want to say thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. I really appreciate it. Marc, thank you for coming and giving us a little bit of your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. You take care, brother.
Everybody, guys, have a great day. I will see you all very soon.